Hello, welcome to week 5 synchronous session. This is for NU 636 Advanced Pharmacology. My name is Dr. Christy Burks. We're going to go ahead and get started. On the agenda this week, we're going to look at the announcements, take a peek at the unit objectives, the readings, videos, and presentations, and then talk about the assignments. So for the announcements this week, you have the typical week 5 synchronous session. The week 5 synchronous session schedule and links announcement that you need to refer to. And if you look under week 5, you'll have the link for the recorded session later on today. And then the link is already there for the week 5 content session, the recorded link. And then you, of course, had the live link there if you joined us. There are some optional journal articles and resources. Again, those are just that optional, but I do think that anytime I come across some interesting articles or resources, I try and share it with you as well. For example, the Frax Plus calculation tool, I think, is a pretty unique and interesting tool to use, and especially with the content that we're looking at this week. The next, we have the week 5, the welcome to week 5 announcement. And this just again reminds you about the unit objectives, looks at the assigned readings, videos, and presentations, and then goes over the assignments that we have this week. We do have 2 shadow health assignments and then discussion and the quiz. And then just a reminder to reach out to me via email if you have any questions, you have concerns, or if you're running into circumstances that are interfering with you meeting the deadlines. Remember that HERSing policy, you must reach out, email, share the circumstances that, and you don't have to go into great detail, just share briefly the circumstances that are impeding and request that extension, okay? Just a reminder of the mid-course survey HERSing has put out. You should have already gotten an update or an email notification of this. I sent an announcement out to remind you it expires on April 3rd. We do encourage participation. I do encourage constructive feedback. We're always looking, you should always be looking to improve on things, and that is something we do review just to make sure that there's anything that we need to change or look at and update. So all right, on the Unit 5 objectives this week, we're looking at the end of the week, we should be able to examine and incorporate pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic, and pharmacogenomic concepts for pharmacological decision making. We should explore and evaluate patient factors that impact pharmacological decision making and examine those pharmacotherapeutic concepts that related to that care of the patient. And then lastly, explore and apply current evidence to pharmacological decision making for the management of patients. All right. On the course readings, we have chapter 9 and 10, which goes over the pharmacotherapy of pain management, then the pain management and opioid use disorder patients. And then we have chapters 32, 33, and 34, osteoarthritis and gout, osteoporosis, and rheumatoid arthritis. You do have a few videos and presentations. You have the anti-gout medications, the osteoporosis pharmacology, prevention and treatment. You have rheumatoid arthritis and opioids made easy. On the assignments, so this week, let's look at the discussion. We do have the management of the patient with gout. The initial post is due by Wednesday, 23:59 Central Standard Time. Your instructions remain the same. The class participation remain the same as those discussions in the previous week, so I'm not going to go over those again, but just making sure that you are posting all 3 of those posts on separate days so that way you can maximize those points. Now, on the initial post, we have a 58-year-old man or male that is in the clinic, and you are seeing this patient related to an acute visit with joint pain and swelling. You're offered a little bit of medical history and just a few details of the current issue. And then you are to provide your diagnosis, discuss how you would manage the patient's current presentation, and provide a rationale supported by those scholarly references for your treatment plan. making sure that you include those correlating in-text citations. Anytime you have references listed, please double check to make sure that you have in-text citations. You know, sometimes we're writing our paper or writing our discussion, we use those in-text citations, and maybe we edit something out and remove it. So then you still have that full reference listed, but you have no citation, or vice versa. You add a citation, but forget to add the full reference. That is a problem. So you need to make sure that you're double checking that there's correlating information there. Okay. Include your specific prescriptions for the patient, and that does need to include the medication name, dose, route, and frequency, as well as any special instructions that would apply when you were prescribing to a patient. And then describe the patient education, as well as provide the follow-up plan or referral if it's indicated. Now, your peer post is, again, the same instructions that you've had. Please respond to 2 peer posts. Those 2 peer posts do need to be supported by scholarly references. It's good to share at least a minimum of 1 new reference. So instead of seeing or using the same ones that you used from your initial post, at least add 1 new reference to kind of help extend the conversation, further that conversation, and share those new ideas and thoughts. Okay. All right. We do have the quiz each week that we have, and it's still the same. We have 30-minute time limit. Please make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to work on that quiz and complete it before that due date, which is on Sunday, 11:59. Now, on the shadow health assignments, again, we have the analgesics concept lab. Please make sure that you're looking at that. You don't want to miss these easy points. Okay. Complete that and get that turned in as quickly as possible. It is due by Sunday, 23:59. So is the focused exam, which is over pain management. Just as another reminder, you can take this multiple times. You can actually read your feedback, review your feedback, which is what I recommend you do. If you've already taken the exam and you've spent an hour or longer on it, I would review the feedback, take your notes, and then take a break and come back to it. Don't just sit down and go through it and take, hours to do it, because sometimes you get frustrated and you'll find yourself just kind of in a spiral. So if you've spent a lot of time on it, maybe take a moment, go do something, take a walk, whatever you need to do, and then get your brain fresh to come back. Look at that feedback, make sure you don't just need to reopen it, because if you reopen it, you can just kind of go in and plug in the places maybe you missed a few things to up that score. Or if you have several things that you missed or need to review and look at, then maybe it might be behoove you to just restart the quiz or restart the exam. But make sure that you are submitting the lab pass that has the highest student performance index score, that SPI score. That is what you're taking times 40 to get your points. Okay. Remember, anything below a 75% will receive a 0. So please make sure that you're at minimum turning in something that has a SPI score of 75 or higher. All right. Upcoming assignments. I know I've been talking about this for a number of sessions, but I do this because I don't want it to sneak up on you. 2, I want to make sure that you're looking at the resources that I'm offering, because again, my goal is to help you maximize your points. So in week 6, we do have a management of headaches paper, and I want to show and talk to you a little bit about it. I have an example template that is located in that synchronous session schedule and links announcement. So it's already there if you're working ahead. But really quick, on the management of headaches assignment, when you click into that module and go to this assignment, you'll look and it'll ask you to pull up this worksheet. On this worksheet, you've got your instructions. It gives you a list of prompts that you're going to answer for each of these scenarios. There's 4 scenarios. You're offered what I consider minimum information. Okay, so don't assume things. Answer to the best of your ability with the information that you are given. Okay, so for each scenario, you're going to identify the type of headache. You're going to write, it's very similar to your discussion that we do. And you need to look at these assignments. This is just another way to help you kind of study and focus in or dive into some of this content, okay? But you're going to write your specific prescriptions, again, including the medication name, dose, route, frequency, as well as any special instructions that may apply when you're writing a prescription. Then you're going to provide a rationale for your treatment plan. This is also where you're going to, so between the identify the type and the rationale for the treatment plan, you need to make sure that you're supporting it with those scholarly references and those in-text citations. And then you're going to describe the patient education that you would provide in relation to your treatment plan, as well as support your plan and education for each of these scenarios. So this is the point I want to make it very clear. Each scenario must have a minimum of 2 scholarly references. Okay, so for this assignment, you should have a minimum of 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 8 scholarly references. Now, with the caveat that, your textbook is a scholarly reference. So if you're using your textbook, that may eliminate, you could have just 4, 5. So 5 to 8 references is what we should be seeing for this, okay? Or if you're using one of the other 3 Ps. So, but I would like to see at least, I would say, okay, a minimum of 2 for each one is what it's asking. All right. Now, the example template. You have your title page. So this is a student paper formatting that you should be having. You remember for its title page, you have the room number, gosh, excuse me, the page number to the top right-hand side. You have the title about 4 to 6 lines down. Notice that everything on the title page is centered and the title of the paper is bolded. Then you have 2 double spaces between the title and the student name. And notice it is not, this information is no longer bolded, but it remains centered. You have the student name, the Department of Nursing, the Herzing University. You have the course information and number. You have the instructor's name and then the due date. Okay. And then we go into our level 1 heading, which is scenario 1. It is centered and bolded. Jump over here to the level 2 heading, and that is left aligned. So from here out, all of your content is left aligned, which creates just a perfect line straight down and then kind of a zigzag here on the right. So this is what it should look like. Every paragraph is indented, and you notice that it stays and remains double spaced throughout the rest of the paper. There's no extra spaces in between here. You do not create extra spaces between your headings as well, okay? So the type of headache, include your type of headache for this patient in the scenario. It's nice for you to include a short rationale and then support that with those scholarly references. Your treatment plan is your next level 2 heading, which again remains left aligned, bolded, and then you'll notice the paragraph is indented, okay? Then we have the rationale for treatment. We also have the description of the patient education for treatment plan and so on. And then we jump back to our level 1 heading, which is that scenario 2. So as you can see, I've got it all laid out at minimum, and this is pretty basic on the rationale section. So this is the first 2 scenarios. Let me go on through here. So at minimum, this paper should be 7 to 9 pages is what usually I see, because you are listing this out and having this information. So likely it's going to be a little bit longer, but I would say at least a minimum of 7 pages, and that's including the title and the reference page, okay? If you have questions and you run into questions during the week of working on this, please email me, ask me. I'm happy to help you if there's something I can help you with. Don't forget your reference page. You should have your level 1 heading as your references, and again, it's bolded and centered. You should have your page number. Your references are listed alphabetically, and they are left aligned with a hanging indent. On your references, you should be including, especially if there is a DOI or URL link, you must include that information. It must lead, always check those links to make sure one, it's functioning, it's not broken, two, that it's leading to the article that you have listed there with the authors that you have listed there. So um, that is a big concern and red flag and ends up causing validity issues. And what that means is that if we click on this link and it leads to a different article, then this reference is not valid. Okay. It is not the reader's job to validate and find or look or search for this article. It's yours as a writer, as a student. So please make sure. So basically, this negates that um, scholarly reference. So you will miss points for that because this is an issue, and any of the in-text citations become an issue associated with this reference that has a validity or validation issue. All right, moving on. Please make sure you look at the rubric because you'll see each scenario basically has a section on the rubric. So it jumps from 9 points to 7 points if you only meet some of the criteria. So please make sure you're looking at that. Part of this as well, let me see where it's at. So you jump to 7 points if you only have use one scholarly reference in a scenario. You're down from 9 points to 7 points. So I just want to make sure you're looking at that because that's why I'm focusing in on that criteria in the instructions. Okay. The organization, formatting, and APA is worth 4 points this time. So please make sure, those points add up quickly. So that's why I provide that template for you. All right. And jumping back, I know I've mentioned this since the beginning of this course, but I do so because week 7 comes up and there's a lot of assignments and I don't want you to be overwhelmed. So I hope that you have already looked into this. If you haven't, there's still time, but go to the Read Me First module, click on the MSUD medications for substance use and opioid use disorders. This will lead you into here. You're going to click on this link. You need to register. So this is the assignments that we have this week on week 7. We have the shadow health exam. It's that last one. You have the assignment that we're talking about. You have a discussion and you have a quiz. So when you go to this site, you're going to click this register button. You only need to register one time. It does take or can take up to 24 hours for them to validate and send you the email to log in. So that's why, again, you don't want to wait too long. Once you get your email, you log in and you'll see this screen. You're going to click on this MSUD training. You should not have to pay any fees. There's no registration fees. There's no cost as long as you're going in through the way that we have just talked about, going in through the link that they provide in the course. All right. So here are all the modules. There's 9 modules, and each module you have to go through before it unlocks the next module. So this can take up to, I'd say, 8 to 9 hours to complete this. Let me go back. Sorry. There are videos on each one, and then at the end of each little module, it has you do a reflection. So that is important just to get that done as quickly as you can. So that way you're not messing with it in week 7. And it's nice to do it a little bit at a time. So these videos, I like to watch videos sometimes at a speed of 1.5 to 2. These are ones that you cannot speed up. You have to watch the whole thing at the speed that it was recorded at. So it does take you that amount of time. At the end of this, you will receive a certificate of completion. You need to hang on to this. Every student needs to hang on to this, save it. You're not only going to submit it for this assignment, but you're also going to need it later in the program. So if you're a nurse practitioner, you will need it for licensure after you graduate. And so it is very important that you hang on to it. If you are in other programs, you will need it for the continuing education. And so it's important to hang on to as well. Okay. All right, I am talking about week 8 because it will be upon us very quickly. It's a very short week. Notice there's only one assignment. It is a discussion, but it's only the initial post. So the one thing I wanted to point out on this is that you are going to provide a reflection and an analysis of how the course supported each of the objectives that are listed here. Notice there are 4. There will be examples and scholarly references that you need to include your in-text citations to support those thoughts and strengthen those thoughts and opinions. And then do not miss this portion or this last question, which is to explain how the material learned in this course based upon the objectives will be applicable in your professional application. Okay. So it's very quick and easy assignment, but it is due that Tuesday, 11:59 a.m. That's before noon on week 8. So we start the week on Monday and we end it on Tuesday at 11:59. And grades have to be submitted by Wednesday. So there's little time for turnaround there. So I just don't want anybody to miss those extra points. Okay. All right, thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Again, just a reminder, please email me if you have any questions, concerns, or circumstances that are running into or interfering with you meeting the objectives. Have a good week.